Welcome to Tog Tips. My name is Ryan, and today we're going to be discussing manual modes. Now, when you first buy your DSLR, most new photographers, they will be using auto. It's a little green auto button on your dial. And that's great, you know, explore auto. The camera's going to be doing all the heavy work for you. All you have to do is point at something and, like we said before, depress halfway down and then execute that shutter release. And that's great. In most cases, you'll get a good image. But, you know, sometimes you'll be seeing something happening, like say a sunset, and you'll be like, oh wow, I want to get this sunset. You go to take a picture, and it's not exactly what your eye sees. You know, the camera sees things differently than your eye does. And you'll be looking at that image going, wow, I wish I could get that image what I'm seeing. This is where the manual modes come in. You can adjust things like your shutter speed, your aperture, your ISO levels, all these different details you have control of. And that's the beauty part of it. You can get what you see, you can get that sunset, and it'll be all perfect that way. But it does take a little mastery. Now, when you get a DSLR, you will notice this mode dial has a lot of different presets. You'll see one that has a lady with a big hat. Now, is that exclusively for ladies with big hats? No, it's the portrait mode. So that's to get that effect where your subject is crisp and sharp in focus, but your background is blurry. You'll see some mountains as another option on your mode dial, and that is for landscape mode. So when you want your subject and your background to be in the same level of focus, you'll probably see things like a little guy running. That's your sports mode. So that's going to be your shutter priority, where it's going to be capturing that speed. Your camera is thinking, okay, we're in sports mode now. We're going to be focusing on the sports. We're going to have a higher shutter. There's tons of different presets on your camera. The thing that you really want to focus on are the lettered modes, the M, A, S, and P. So what do those stand for? Well, A, or AV, if you're shooting with a different brand, is aperture priority. So you are in control of the aperture. The camera figures everything else out in your subject to make it look nice. If you go over to S, that's shutter priority, or TV in some different modes. Shutter priority, again, you're in control of the shutter, and the camera's figuring everything else out. P is program mode. It's kind of like auto light. So you do have some control, but not a lot. Your camera's still doing the bulk of the work. The mode I use quite often is M, manual. So you're in control of everything. You set the stage, all aspects of your camera. And that's where the creativity happens. That's the mode you want to be mastering. And it can be tricky. It takes a little while to master that. It's more of the fine-tuning mode. So if you see something that, say you're shooting a hockey game and the players are a little too dark, well, you can enhance that by going with your aperture, maybe using a wider aperture, or boosting up your ISO. You're going to want to have a higher shutter option, obviously because it's sports, so there's moving and you want to get that higher shutter rate. But yeah, manual mode, that's where it's at, kids. You want to be shooting manually eventually. But to start out with, auto is totally fine. So once you've mastered that, then you're ready to step up. The beauty in DSLR photography, it's not a race to the end, it's a journey. You know, stay at whatever level you're at for as long as you need, but there's always room to improve and develop, and that's the exciting part of it. Thanks for tuning in to Tog Tips today, and remember, if you want to improve your photography, you got to pick up that camera and shoot.